It's Tuesday. It's Tuesday. It's Tuesday. It's Tuesday. It's our favorite day.
Hey,
Our favorite day. It's
hey,
our favorite day. Hey, it's
hey,
our favorite day. It's
hey.
Tuesday. It's
It's,
Tuesday. It's
it's,
Tuesday. It's Tuesday. It's
it's
our
my
favorite
favorite day.
day. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Connected Corner. I'm your girl, Tori Rose. And
I'm your girl, Kiana B.
hey, Kiana B. And it is Tuesday, and we are so excited to be here on the Connected Corner. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Go to youtube.com, type in the search, The Connected Corner, and go ahead and hit subscribe. Also, you can hit that bell and it'll notify you when we go live. So make sure that you are subscribed and getting connected. We're so excited. How's your day, Key?
It is going pretty good. I outside of my allergies are acting up again, so I'll have to be taking care of those. But outside of that, I'm good. Just for cautious sake, I have taken a Benadryl. So just so y'all know.
If she starts nodding, we are not boring. We are not boring.
If I start nodding out, it's not because our guests, we love them. This is going to be an exciting show. We're going to have a great topic. It's the Benadryl tonight. Okay. So woke up a little bit puffy. I need to take that, take a couple Benadryls a day. So we're going to be good.
You know what? We should hashtag that. We should get shirts and put hashtag it's the Benadryl and just like hand them out like down like Lexington Market and like Pennsylvania Avenue in certain areas, Monument Street, certain areas where people are definitely on the Benadryl.
On the Benadryl.
That's what we should do. Don't y'all bootleg my idea. I said it first. You heard it first here at the Connected Corner. And so listen, we are excited. We are starting a 6-week series that's really going to dive into something that I don't feel like we often talk about, which is the educated Black man and the value of higher education. And so we want to hear from you. Make sure you are commenting where you're watching us. If you're catching us live, if you're watching the replay, if you're watching it in a month, if you're on Facebook, if you're on YouTube, we want to know. We want to hear from you. And we really just do this for you guys to bring news and resources that you can actually
use. Yeah. And it's a relevant topic. So it's going to remain relevant. It's something that we need to talk about continuously. So no matter when you view, now, later, it's still relevant. And if you're watching it now and your friends or family, someone need the information, if they're not watching it, you can tell them hop on right now, or make sure you tell them to go watch the replay, because this is going to be awesome.
It is going to be awesome.
I'm excited about it.
As mothers of sons, and our sons obviously are in different stages of development, but we've had the honor as family watching our children grow up. I think that, I think that it's interesting when they're little babies and you have all of these thoughts and all of these ideas for them and what their futures are going to look like. And then you get to that place of education and it's like, oh, wait, the system isn't fair for my son. Did you experience that?
Oh, absolutely. I honestly just had this conversation. I don't know, was it with you recently? Just everybody who still has...
It might have been with me, because I'd be calling you all the time about this one.
Somebody, but what was one of the sisters, cousins, and somebody with, sons, and just kind of going through that, matriculating through school, grade school, and just how thankful that I'm done with that part, because it was a struggle. And not because my sons didn't have aptitude. They are very intelligent, very smart, and I'm not just saying that because they're my children, but honestly, it was more challenges with the system that was in place than it was, with them. And so I know for sure that, at least even my youngest son was under direct attack in a school building, to the point that the assistant principal said he's going to finish the rest of 8th grade home because there are people in this building that don't want to see him succeed.
Oh, yeah, I remember those days, because I remember having to take my earrings off several times. Yeah,
that was breathtaking. And so I shot him out a lot. I don't know if people want me to shout him out here, but, I love Mr. Brown. I'm sorry. He's the principal now at Randallstown High School. And he was Kobe's 8th grade assistant principal. But him and Mr. Roberts is how Kobe got through Deer Park Middle School, honestly. So yeah, I called it out. Okay.
Yeah. And thank you for doing that. And thank you for being honest. And that's something, guys, over this next 6 weeks, we're going to talk about 2 male administrators, an administrator and a teacher who were able to see the value in Kiana's youngest son, right? Because he was the one at the school at the time, not that the other students that didn't have value. But it was them being able to use the power that they had, right? Implied power, to make sure that this child was not targeted. So just again, let us know if there's any parents of sons, or if you're a son yourself, because we want to hear what was your educational experiences and what challenges did you go through. And without further ado, I can't wait to talk to today's guest. You ready?
Yeah.
So, Mr. Dr. Reverend, I love all these. I just want him to get like 16 more acronyms. ABC 1, 2, 3. I love it. So, Reverend Dr. Burl Whipple. Dr. Whipple is the 8th pastor of the historic Mount Hebron Baptist Church. Some people say Hebron, but I'm a little ghetto. Hebron Baptist Church in Baltimore City. Educationally, he is a graduate of Morehouse College, where he earned a bachelor's degree in religion, and Wake Forest University Divinity School, where he earned a master's degree in divinity. He also holds the Master's of Science degree in church management from Villanova University of Business. In addition, he has earned a Doctor of Ministry in Church Leadership Excellence at Wesley Theological Seminary in Washington, D.C. Wesley's a hard school. It's a hard school. And I knew somebody who was there who was struggling in the theodicy class, and I don't know what happened to him. But nonetheless, Pastor Whipple is also an active member of the Baltimore Morehouse Alumni Association. He is a 3rd-generational preacher and the youngest son of Reverend Dr. Barbara Jean Whipple. I love her, by the way. Your mother's amazing. And the late Reverend Norman Monroe Whipple Sr. His older brothers are Jacinth Norman and the late Norman Monroe Jr. Before we bring him on, I'm just going to talk about a couple of these accomplishments. Some people's bios, you can't just abbreviate.
Yes.
Other accomplishments include holding the position of chapel assistant within the Martin Luther King Jr. International Chapel, where he first was introduced to many foundations and ministry, being named an Oprah Winfrey Scholar. Come on, Oprah. She's an Aquarius, by the way. He is also an inductee of the esteemed Martin Luther King Jr. Board of Preachers at Morehouse College. Come on, guys, put your virtual hands together. Without further ado, we are welcoming the amazing Dr. Reverend, my brother, our friend, Beryl Whipple, to the stage.
Hey, yay! Morehouse, wow. Morehouse.
Thank you, my sisters. I appreciate y'all. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we can't skimp on that, especially based on the topic. We gotta let the people know.
Let the people know. There's a lot of
certified and qualified for this series. All right.
Qualified and quantified, like they say. Okay.
I love it.
Welcome. And there's a lot of people. We have amazing guests. So this is not to short anybody, but it is amazing to me as your friend how much I didn't know about you. I'm like, what? And bios are always so interesting because, even reading your own sometimes just like, oh, I don't like to talk about myself, but God did this. Yes. And he did this for you. And so welcome. I have some questions. We're going to jump right in. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about your K-12 education. Did you go to private school? Did you go to public school?
So I went to both. I started out at the Mark of Excellence Christian Academy on Hilton Street from about kindergarten through 3rd grade. And then, unfortunately, my parents really couldn't afford the tuition. It was a great school, but we wound up going to Lafayette Elementary School for the 4th grade. And amazingly enough, at Lafayette Elementary School, I had not one but 2 black male teachers for the first time in my entire life. My 4th grade teacher was Mr. Gordon, and my 4th grade math teacher was Mr. Burke. And that was a new experience for me. I enjoyed learning from them, but they also recognized something in me. And so they recommended me to go to Belmont Elementary for my 5th grade. because they had a gifted and talented program. And so that was a wonderful experience. And of course, after elementary school, I went to Lamel Middle School, and that was a eye-opening experience because I was in advanced academics for that program. But then I switched back to private school for high school, and I went to the Mount Zion Baptist Christian School in East Baltimore, and I learned there that smaller class sizes were better for me, and that I am different in a good way. So I need to be preparing in a different way. So that's my K through 12 in a nutshell. I got so many more stories than that. But that's a little summarization.
That's awesome. So at all the schools, I'm like, um, because you sound much like my sister. We always have this this conversation. I won't say debate, but I'm not sure if she's sour about it or not. But how many elementary schools she went to, as opposed to how many I went to.
Oh wow!
And so she also went to Lafayette and Belmont as well, and then and Mary Rodman in there too. I think I only went to 2. I think she went to 4 or 5, but that's another story. She went to 4, right? Yeah. So she went to 4. I went to 2. But Belmont and Lafayette was one of her schools. We used to live in the 2500 block of Lafayette.
Okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, I know that school. I know that school. And when you said Mr. Gordon, I was like, that name sounds familiar too. So yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting. But that is, what you're saying about classroom size, public, private. I mean, that's probably a whole nother discussion in itself, how people feel about one or the other. And so for me, as a educator, former, in classroom teacher, a parent, I think it's really something that people have to look at their child. I think some people kind of go that route because they think, oh, they want to say their child goes to private school, or they automatically feel it's going to be better. But it really depends on the child. It's not a blanket prescription for everyone. So, but thank you for sharing your journey, and that worked for you. Another question we have. So you actually told us you didn't have Black teachers until you got to Lafayette Elementary. So outside of Lafayette, were there any other Black male teachers in your K through 12 experience?
Okay, yeah. So the Black male teachers first came in 4th grade, but of course before that, nothing but Black female teachers. And then now I think about it again. The next time I had Black male teachers was, of course, in high school when I was at Mount Zion. 2 come off. I'm thinking about 2 right now. One is the late great Dr. Gossie Harold Hudson. Dr. Hudson, of course, was a professor at Morgan, but at the same time, he taught history at Mount Zion, and he was the first one to identify Blacks in the Bible for me, and that blew my mind away. He said, if you see in the Bible tribes ending in ITES, those were persons of color, and he showed us on the map of Africa, and I saw it in the scriptures. I knew my word, I knew my word from Sunday school, and you trying to pronounce all those ites and ites and ites. I didn't know those ites was us. And I was blown away. And then, of course, my algebra teacher / football coach, Mr. Tony Floyd. And so I thank God for both of them because it did show me that we could be educators in a major way. Now, of course, at Morehouse, I had nothing but Black men, PhD up and down the line. But that's another time for another day. But for the few, I can honestly remember as we were talking, from K through 12, 4 Black male teachers. I think there needs to be a whole lot more. But those are the ones I can remember. And I can honestly say all 4 of them made an impact on my life, enabling me to see that it's possible to be the disciplinarian, the nurturer. I think a lot of Black males don't go into teaching because we think we had to be a nurturer, and that's not in us. It's really not. We're disciplinarians, we're lecturers, things of that nature. And some just don't have the patience to be there 6 hours a day with 30, 40 kids, all these personalities and developmental situations. It's a lot. But we want to make a difference. I can honestly say I'm not trying to go off a tangent here, but a lot of the gentlemen who I'm connected to, we want to make a difference, and so we try to do that the best way we know how.
Ooh, I'm telling you, you said so much. When you mentioned Dr. Hudson, I was actually sad because I was working in the federal government, just recently got in the federal government when he passed away. And he, his tenure at Morgan, and I didn't even realize until you just said it, he was one of the people I enacted and encountered at Western. And he's the reason I have a history degree.
Wow.
So I have a degree in history and government, right? A lot of times
Wow.
people go the government route, political science, criminal justice, they don't do the history part. And so to hear that, it didn't even dawn on me until just now, like my cheeks hurt because I didn't realize that he was an educator of young people as well. I knew he was at Morgan. And
Right.
like, oh, wow. So anyway, I love how God just brings things full circle.
Mhm.
And so what you said is monumental because most of us can remember the teachers we didn't like, right? If you ask me about that fourth or third grade teacher that just rubbed me the wrong way, I can tell you. Too infrequently, we don't focus on those teachers that made the impact. But here you are now as a very educated Black male, and you can recall the grade, the names, and the encounters. And I think that's huge. That in itself is huge. And for anyone who's listening, this is why we're doing this, because our sons especially need that representation in the classroom. So why do you think there is so little? I mean, you mentioned it a little bit about the nurturing versus the discipline, but why do you think it's so little Black male educators just across the gambit until we get to the HBCU?
Mm. Well, I can't really specifically answer why not. I just answer why we do. You all know, the whole world knows. I have two best friends. Reverend Antoine Colvin, who passes Missionary Union Baptist Church in Columbus, Mississippi, and of course, everyone knows the great Reverend Marvin Tiller Jr. here in Baltimore, who is studying to get his doctorate in education. My man got 3 master's degrees working on his doctorate in education, and what he shows me in working in the education field is that he has a passion for education and a passion for training young Black youth, and that's the answer. I do know you have to have a passion for it in order to do it, because if you don't, you're wasting your time. And he shows me through conversation and text messages that you have to have a passion for it because you want it to go further than you. You want your reach rather to go further than you. And so, of course, he has, taught at some tough schools in Baltimore City, some tough schools. But after his tenure at the end of the school year, it was always the more lively students who respected him at the end of the year. And so, again, if you unless you have a desire to do it, don't do it. Um, I to take a hypothetical stab at it. Why do I think there isn't an abundance of Black male educators? They may not have a passion for it. They may not think it's lucrative, um, and they feel like they don't have the energy for it. Because again, 6 hours a day or 7 hours a day with 30 plus, 40 plus kids, with a lot of various issues and presentations of learning, you may not be able to be that flexible, or so it's a lot into it. But I'm grateful for the brothers who are educators. Shout out to, I want to say, Curtis Valentine. Curtis Valentine is a Morehouse brother of mine. He's on the board, at the board of education board in DC, PG County area. He's a Morehouse grad. He has a big passion for education. Curtis Valentine is his name. Yes, ma'am.
So, yes, ma'am. Curtis Valentine. It's the name. I love it. I love it. So we are a few minutes into the show, and we obviously all know at this point what HBCU you went to. But can you tell us why did you choose the Great Morehouse?
So, as my life has unfolded and continues to unfold, the way God works with me is that He presents everything in a balance. I know I pastor the historic Mount Hebron Baptist Church, 2651 West North Avenue. Baltimore, Maryland 21216.
Plug that.
But
Plug that.
thank you. But I am not a super spiritual person. I am not. I do not talk down to people who are. If people hear God in surround sound, that's great. But for me, I'm the guy that God has to put it on a billboard, send me a text message, a smoke screen, and 3 witnesses who don't even know each other. That's how I'll know that's God. From people, that's how I roll. So that's the confirmation I need. Now, what happened was, honestly, unfortunately, in 1999, my grandmother and my father passed within 6 months of each other. So my father passed in November 1999, and one of my dreams was for him to watch me graduate high school because my father only obtained a GED. I don't say only, but my father obtained a GED. And so that was a heartbreaking and traumatizing moment for me. Well, in December of 1999, I sat down with my mother and I said, Mother, I want to apply and go to college. And at that time, I wanted to go to Oral Roberts University because all I knew was I know I wanted to be a pastor. Now, I didn't know the politics and the views of Oral Roberts University. And thank God I didn't go. God be praised. But my mother simply said in a still small voice, have you considered Morehouse College? Now, I'm a researcher. So after she said that, I went and I researched Morehouse College. And I saw how, of course, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was a graduate, Samuel L. Jackson, Spike Lee, and all these awesome, wonderful, intelligent Black men. And I said, Mama, you want me to go to Morehouse? She said, give it a shot. Well, I filled the application. I did the essay. I sent it all in, and I thought I wasn't going to get in, but I got in, and I was ecstatic. I cried when I received the letter of acceptance in April of 2000, before I even graduated high school. I cried because growing up on Harlem Avenue, 2600 block of Harlem Avenue, I felt like there was no way out. All the brothers I grew up with playing basketball with in the alley were either dead or in jail, or took another path that was not productive, and I didn't want to do that. I just felt hopeless. But I'm thankful that I took a chance on myself. I took a chance on me, and that's how I got to Morehouse. And grateful that I have never looked back since.
I was like, is Tori crying again?
You
Like,
know
it's
I am.
early. It is too early in the episode.
Listen,
It's all right. It's all right. Tears of joy.
this is the thing. I can remember that feeling. I've shared my story. Most people know I was homeless at 16, and I remember that hopeless feeling. And so let's listen, won't he do it and won't he speak to you? So it sounds like you are, like you said, you're a researcher. Even as a young person, you sound like you were extremely mature in that way, right? Being led and having some maturity. Tell us a little bit more about like when you realized like this is a historical school. This has value. How or at what point did you recognize the value in the historical context of that specific HBCU?
It was a twofold thing for me. When I began announcing um, at the end of my high school tenure that I was attending Morehouse College, people just lit up. Um, but then after a while, some people lit up, and other folk were just visibly jealous. And I didn't understand it because understand we were broke. We had no money. And so for them to be jealous of the fact that I got into Morehouse, of course, Black folk being Black folk, but I say something else, I apologize. He got in, but he get out. And I was just like, good Lord, can I get started first? But I didn't take that the way I could have. So here's the way I took it, Kiana. I took it as if this school, just the very mention of this school, is making folk act this way, either side of the extreme. And it's not Harvard, it's not Yale, it's not Princeton, but it's causing this reaction. I need to pay attention. And then the second thing that happened was my freshman year, after I got settled in, around after homecoming, November, December or so, one late night, I felt like walking around campus. And I'm walking around campus, and I'm looking at the various statues on campus and artifacts, and we've all seen little college movies, and I'm expecting to see a white man somewhere. I think there's maybe like one white uh, man's portrait in there somewhere. But for the most part, all the statues were black men. I mean, black men, blackety black men with suits and ties on, and all these educational quotes, and you got the whole area in front of Graves Hall for Benjamin Elijah Mays, and it was just something that made you look like, why is this? Why are there more of this? And why did I learn about Morehouse in middle school? I felt like if I learned about Morehouse in middle school or elementary school, I would not have been, laughing and joking. I would take my education more seriously. And when I'm thinking about it, let me plug this. You all already know, when we get our education, we have a responsibility to pass it down to the next generation. And even if you don't have $1 million like Oprah Winfrey to give somebody, you can still pass on that knowledge. So this is what I've done at Mount Hebron, 2651 West North Avenue, Baltimore, Maryland 21216. On the third Sunday, yes, ma'am. On the third Sunday in January. Not only is that the Martin Luther King Sunday and our Leadership Day at Mount Hebron, it's also Morehouse Day. Where local alumni from Morehouse come and ascend to Mount Hebron. There's a table of information out in the narthex. And over time, we have graduated and elevated that day from Morehouse Day to Morehouse Spelman Day. To whereas Morehouse and Spelman alum in the area ascend to Mount Hebron on that Sunday. And I'm looking forward to it in 2022 at 11 a.m. because we're going to have tables for Morehouse and Spelman. And I want it to grow as the years progress on. And let me be clear, this is not a slant to any other school. It's just that I went to Morehouse. And of course, our sister school is Spelman. And I told Mount Hebron this. I said, if y'all want to have Coppin Day, let's have it. If you want to have Bowie State Day, if you want to have Federal Government Day, if you want to have whatever day, fine. But I want our children to be exposed to higher education, more specifically a HBCU. And so all that to say, I'm grateful that I am being a good steward of what God has entrusted me with. And I pray that people will understand the value of HBCUs.
I love it. But when he said they ascend, I couldn't wait to just go ahead and just repeat that. They ascend.
They ascend. I
want to. I love it.
Yes,
I want to piggyback without derailing us. First of all, I want to remind anybody who has not subscribed, this is your opportunity to subscribe.
Yes.
Go to YouTube, go to the search bar, type in the Connected Corner, and go ahead and subscribe and click the notification so you can stay connected to us and get real life notifications when we go live. But also, if there's a young person in your world, a young male specifically, you want to plug them into this series because there are some things that are being said. He said, if I knew that Morehouse existed, I would not have played in my education when I was younger. For those of us who have sons who are trying to say, stop playing, because now we're on this side of, adulthood, and we recognize those years go by so fast. That was pivotal. Also, a lot of people don't know, but I didn't start at Bowie. I started at Clark Atlanta University. And I remember that feeling when I couldn't stay. Wow. I had to, I was technically not liberated as an independent, child, even though I had been homeless since I was 16. There was so many financial aid ramifications. I stayed in Heritage Commons. And I remember doing just what you did. I got up about 5 o'clock one morning and just walked the campus. And if you've never had that type of experience in a collegiate environment, it will change your life. And so I knew I had to come back home. This was very early first semester. Didn't know where I was going to go, but I trusted that God was going to make a way for me. And he landed me at Bowie, and I was able to continue and graduate from Bowie. But it's magical. And so for the moms and dads and people who may be tuning in, get to these campuses and don't just go on the tour and listen to the person point. Spend some time on campus. look around and remind your young person that these scholars look like them.
Yes.
Mm.
That just touched me. I'm done crying.
No. Let's keep crying. The
Yeah.
thing is, like you said, these scholars look like me, and
Mhm.
that made a big difference for me. You know, I came out of West Baltimore, or East Baltimore, and Baltimore City, and we saw some horrific things, and we didn't see positive images of ourselves. And I'm grateful for Spelman College, the home of Black girl magic, and allow folks to see positive images of Black women. That's awesome. But there is a lack of consistent positive images for Black men. And so Morehouse, although this is before social media, before the internet, Morehouse has been doing it since day one, since 1867. But I'm grateful that the word is getting spread so we can impact a next generation in a positive way.
Yeah, absolutely. I applaud you for what you're doing. You know, I'm passionate about education, and so even not being in the classroom any longer, that is something that I've always said is very important. Is that people feel like our students, our children, because regardless if I was your direct teacher or not, you were my child. If you were anywhere near my room, well, I passed you in the hallway. But if they know what is available, I was shocked. My first year, my first teaching experience was at Woodlawn. I was a career changer, and going in early 2000s. It was, I'm dating myself now because I know YouTube. I was teaching high school when I got it. All right. We don't have to remind everybody. I got it. Okay.
Right.
Because I had to let them know when I was up there. Look, my sister, my little cousin, they go to Weston. I got people at Walbrook. Y'all don't want no smoke. No,
right. Tell them.
I got sisters and cousins your age. I will call them up here. No. But just understanding.
She said no. Yes. Let them know. Yes. But okay. And would do it again. Let her make a phone call. But anywho, go ahead.
Yes. But just relating to them. But that was how also they understood. Like, you have to have those conversations to let them know you care. I'm here to help you, mentor you, be everything that you need me to be for you. But I don't play with you, right? So, but understanding, like, all of that time, I think I was teaching geometry, and I had 10th, 11th, 12th, I had everything, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th graders in a geometry class, which I went to Western, 10th, 11th, and 12th graders all in, geometry. So I was just confused. And then on top of that, just then getting to know and understanding how you were in the 12th grade and was in geometry, 11th grade. And so I ended up being the counselor, much like you say, why is it that we don't have more Black teachers in education and Black males? I see the impact of Black male teachers. There is nothing like it. I try to encourage every Black male. If you don't know what you want to do, you're not sure, what you want to do, if you want to be a career changer, you want to do something different, if you've been a counselor or even police officers, for anything in that realm, you could make such a huge impact in education if you ever felt like you wanted to change careers, because I see the impact that they have. And these students had no idea. They was 11th and 12th graders in class. Nobody had even had a conversation about what school they were going to, what was available. This was early, the same time y'all was in high school. Not one conversation. And so literally I was helping 11th and 12th graders catch up and even letting them know. So, I was irritated there because I'm like, well, y'all got counselors in the building? I'm confused. Where are the meetings with so I spent 5 or 6 years at Woodlawn, and needless to say, I was very known. But from that point, because I was like, no, this is unacceptable. This is unacceptable. So I understand that, and it's so important to let them know. So at the Connected Corner, and you have given us a wealth of information and knowledge. We definitely love to give the people news and resources that they can actually use. And so one of the things we want to repeat, make sure, and we'll drop your information as well, in the chat throughout the show. But the church's address, your third Sunday in January, Morehouse Day, Morehouse Spelman Day. Come and visit. Take your young people, if they consider in the school, to see just what that warmth feels like, because it's a feeling that you get, right? An encouragement that you get. But in that, and providing the news and resources for our viewers and listeners to use, what do you believe? And you addressed it a little as far as what you're doing at your church, but what do you believe the African American community should be instilling in their children before college? And so we've touched on it with some of the things, but specifically, what are some of the things you feel like they should be instilling in their children before college?
What do I think we should be instilling in our children before college? Point blank, period. Life skills. Life skills. So, on a social aspect of it, teach our young men and our young women how to communicate with one another. Unfortunately, people like Derek Jackson, Kevin Samuels are making a fortune off of dividing us. I know folks can get into the semantics of a relationship, but at the end of the day, they are dividing us. If we teach our young people at adolescence that you can respect her, you can respect him, you ain't got to marry him, just respect them and start there. That's a life skill. That's a life skill we got to teach. Teach them how to do their taxes, how to balance a checkbook, how to change the oil, how to fry an egg, how to cook Thanksgiving dinner. Back in the day, if somebody's grandmother was from down south and she taught you how to snap the peas. You all know, unfortunately, we got a food desert all over in the city, and we got more carryouts than we got grocery stores. So all we know is chicken boxing half and halves. But can you make Thanksgiving dinner? Um, Teach them, and let me be clear. Yes, I'm all for HBCUs, and some people say that they're not college material. I don't believe that, but still get a trade. Learn how to do something with your hands, because there may be times where, unfortunately, the what you majored in is not available for a career at the time, and that's fine. But do something with your hands. Matter of fact, Tuskegee University, they were known for helping people with trades. You get a whole bachelor's degree, but you also know how to farm the land. So understand, we have to teach our folks life skills, and at the end of the day, teach them about race in America. Teach them about the new racism. Teach them about the new Jim Crow. Listen, a lot of those folks who participated in the Freddie Gray uprising a few years ago did not know anything about the economic racism in Baltimore. All they knew is mama was a crackhead, I gotta be a drug dealer, and my little brother hungry. That's all they knew, and they were frustrated. They didn't know the politics of Baltimore. They didn't know that although the mayors have been black for the last 20 years, there are a lot of white people behind the scenes who really calling the shots. Listen, I know about Baltimore City. It's a tough city, but you gotta understand something. I've been here long enough. I ain't afraid of none of y'all joker focus. I've been hungry, I've been broke, and ain't nothing folk can do to me. God got my back. But at the same time, the Bible says to be wise as serpents and harmless as doves. So I thank God, as pastor of the historic Mount Hebron Baptist Church, 2651 West North Avenue, Baltimore, Maryland, 21216. I've been blessed to personally meet the last 5 mayors of Baltimore City. Matter of fact, Mayor Jack Young has been to Mount Hebron for church anniversary. And I thank God that we do our part. But at the same time, I need folk to understand you are responsible for your own life. You are responsible for your own life. Learn as much as you can. Learn how to do as much as you can. Learn how to be self sufficient. Learn how to save some money. I have a nephew, bless his heart. I have a nephew, and I taught him early on in terms of money. You spend a little, you save a little. You spend a little, you save a little. And he knows never ever to spend his last dollar. And the problem is we listen to our music, and our music tells us to spend the whole check and we get it right back. Baby, where? Don't you ever, don't you ever do
Spend
that.
the whole bag. Spend the whole.
Ma'am, that is fiscally irresponsible. And what I don't like about that is our brothers and sisters on the other side of Park Heights and Northern Parkway do not tell their children that. They tell their children fiscal responsibility in elementary school. So we're already behind the eight ball, as you said, Keon, and trying to tell folks about college in 11th, 12th grade. Baby, that's too late. You got to tell them in fifth grade and fourth grade, tell them to look up the nearest HBCU, research that on Google. And so we have to do our due diligence to make sure that we stop competing with each other, start collaborating with each other. And I don't say anything that I'm not doing. So here's the thing. Yes, I'm a pastor, but I love collaborating with people who don't go to church. Bible said when I was hungry, you gave me something to eat. When I was thirsty, you gave me something to drink. He didn't ask you if you were AME, Baptist, East Side, West Side, Coppin, Morgan. If you're hungry, you need some food. If you're thirsty, you need some water. We got to get rid of our differences and understand we got to collaborate more and push our culture forward.
Ooh, I love that. Push our culture forward. That's a whole nother segment. We're going to write that down. And
First of all, I'm writing. So we have quotables from the show, and I'm at 4. So I'm writing them so y'all see us. I'm paying attention because I got 4 quotes already. So we gonna be we got to figure out when we gonna post them. So y'all make sure y'all follow the Connect the Corner, okay? YouTube and Instagram, because get your people on here. Y'all got to get this information, but when you're dropping the knowledge and the information, and we say is what you can use, get the information and things you can use. But I got 4 quotes from this brother already, and I'm gonna just have to decide which one. So you can check, we'll tag you, but we like to give that information, and when you drop those jewels, we post them on our social media page.
I also need to hear that word again. Was it Jokafoka? You're going to text it to me so I can use it.
Go ahead.
Baby. I'm still very much cutting off ears. But anyway, I digress. Woo, child. So historically, Black colleges and universities were established to serve the educational needs of Black Americans. And so what you've said, even when it comes down to still getting a trade, going to Bowie State University, it was the fact that I knew how to fry an egg or how to cook that I was able to make some money on campus cooking hot sandwiches, right? And so, I mean, well, first of all, I did everything. If you went to college with me, they'll tell you, I had a hair salon in my room, and you could come get perms, roller sets, shape ups. I had my boyfriend was the barber. Oh, we were making it happen.
Nice.
When the Subway on campus closed, we were cooking the sandwiches. It was a few of us making hot sandwiches and selling them, all kinds of things. That is the manifestation, right, of that seed being laid by parents or grandparents along the way. And then you get to college and it's like, oh, I got to figure out how to survive and how to make it. Today, we realize that prior to the establishment of those schools of HBCUs, Black people, couldn't go to traditional colleges, right? What we have seen is so many Black women being able to advance in their careers and advance in their education. And when Kiana and I, both of us graduated from HBCUs, decided to do this series, it was really to look at why in 2021 do we still have this huge gender gap? And so even when we talked about earlier, being able to see Black teachers in the classroom, Black male teachers, we would need to have Black males going to school for education to be able to be a teacher in the classroom, right? And so there's so much systemic and intentional targeting of Black men, prison pipeline, drug game, all of this stuff that hinders the enrollment of our Black males into college. So my question to you is, you bobbed, you weaved, you had the covering of God, the favor of God. Now you're an adult, you have these degrees. Have you dealt with any kind of discrimination or challenges now postgraduate?
So throughout my academic career outside of Morehouse, and I don't want to make Morehouse like a magical place, but it is unlike any other place I've been to in my entire life. So the challenges were post Morehouse, right? So at Wake Forest and at Villanova, the discrimination came as I was the only black male in my classes. Um, at Wake Forest, when I started doing too well on the papers, they thought I was cheating. Um, and I encountered my first racist professor at Wake Forest. Had a whole situation. He gave me an F, and I fought it tooth and nail. Wound up taking another class on that same subject matter. Got a great grade in that, and I was trying to plead my case to the dean. He didn't want to hear me. I mean, here's a young man who was on honor roll, graduating with all these citations, never got a F ever in his life. But I met one white professor from the South, and I get an F. So I knew what discrimination felt like, although white supremacy will try to rename it and say I got a deficiency. No, no, no. I met one old white man and he gave me an F. I got all the other black folk with PhDs and even some white women who with a PhD and gave me some good grades. I earned those, but I met this one white man who gave me an F. But the other piece that really hurt was when I was the only black male in these classes. That did something to me, because even in Baltimore, it may have been, in your Baltimore city schools, it may be a class of 35. In that 35, you may have 12 boys and the rest are females, but you're still not by yourself though. It's still somebody there. And so at Villanova, at Wake Forest, I'm looking around and, I'm the only black male. And that may not be discrimination on purpose, but I felt it. Um, Wesley Seminary, see, by the time you get to a level of Wesley Seminary, the people who are there are there on purpose. So there was a great diversity at Wesley between blacks, whites, Hispanics, Asians, all different age groups. But I didn't have anything there, but I felt it at Wesley. I'm sorry, I felt it at Villanova and Wake Forest University Divinity School.
Yeah, that's I was to say that's another show in itself, talking about those things. But I mean, we this has just been great. I just want to say that, and I am really excited for continuing to have these discussions throughout, because, and then just bringing back, so we also have, segments where we do reconnecting. And so this is something we definitely want to continue to talk about. And so this will be a continuation, you guys, on the Connected Corner. This is just the beginning of touching on these topics. So, but I have a question. Actually, I got a couple questions. No, I have a couple questions. So we're this is key question segment, and so I will ask you 3 questions, and you'll have 2 minutes to answer all 3 questions. And this is my handy dandy timer.
Wow.
I still make Dora the Explorer references because that was my daughter's favorite cartoon growing up. So I still reference Dora the Explorer all the time.
Is that
so this is my handy dandy timer. And so it's 2 minutes, and I will start the timer after the first question. Okay. Yeah. And so I'll hold it up. All right. So the first question, the key question is, what is a sign that you are getting off course? So what is a sign that you are getting off course?
Off course in terms of what?
Of life. Like, how do you know that you're kind of like off course, off kilter, maybe not going in the right path, not doing the right thing? What is something that is like a signal for you that you're off course?
Okay. Ready? Yeah. So one signal, a few signals I know that I'm off course in my life is when I do not get a sense of peace in my spirit. And so I know on a day-to-day basis, we grind, we wake up, we go to work, we do what we have to do. But when I don't have a peace in my spirit, I know then it's time to change some things. Perfect example is that when we got deep into the pandemic, we did not at Mount Hebron know how to do online worship. We didn't have online worship. And I just knew we had to do it because we had a lot of seniors in our congregation and we could not expose them to COVID. And so what we did was we just kept moving, and it was some trial and error things, of course, but I began to get peace in my spirit around June of 2020, knowing that we're going to get better with this online worship, but this is where we need to be for right now. How long we're going to be here, I don't know, but I got peace in my spirit knowing that we are at the right place, as opposed to, almost bullying people to come into worship during a pandemic. We're not doing that. But I got peace in my spirit knowing that although I don't know all the details, where I am right now will lead me to the next thing. I'm going to close with this question. A lot of times, the next thing going to lead you to the next thing, will lead you to the next thing, will lead you to the next thing, that leads you to the next season of your life. So I'm grateful now for where we are at Mount Hebron in September 2021, but I know it took March 2020 to get me to September 2021.
All right. Now, look, we won't be doing crying during the key questions, right? It ain't drop mic session, okay? It's the key questions, Dr. Whipple. Okay, now we tried to drop mics during the questions. So wrap it. All right. That was good. Okay.
Thank you.
What is something you do for self-care? So we do so much, but what is something you do for self-care? Our Black men need it. What do you do?
Okay, ready?
Mm-hmm.
Good. So for self-care, I got two major things. First and foremost is I have a therapist. Since February of 2019. I have me a therapist, and she is awesome. I purposely picked a Black female therapist because that was better for me. Because of course in Mount Hebron, 85% of our congregation is female. Out of 85% who are female, the majority of them are older women. And so I thank God for my therapist. She is a blessing from God. Shout out to Dr. Zena Chase. She's talented in what she does. And then the second thing I do is I work out. I do have a trainer, Chiselet Charles Harris. He is a celebrity trainer. He's a trainer for Jada Pinkett's mama. And of course, the great Bishop Oscar Brown, and of course, Pastor Kenneth Robinson. But Chiselet Harris, I see him, and he helps me out. But then on top of that, I work out on my own outside of my trainer. And so on weekends, I was doing this during the pandemic, and I'm keeping it up now. I run 4 miles. I run 4 miles on Saturdays and Sundays, and I wake up pretty early on Sunday morning before service. I run 4 miles before worship, and then after I finish my 4 miles, I get ready and I go to preach. And some people will pass out after the 4 miles, but actually those 4 miles energize me for worship, and it helps me out because it keeps me focused. So the self-care piece of the mind and the emotions with my therapist, Dr. Zena Chase, that's one thing. But then the self-care with my body, working out with Charles Chiselet Harris and running 4 miles on Saturdays and Sundays, that helps me out with the physical piece. And then watch this, my therapist has helped me to find another avenue of self-care. So I worked on the mind, I'm working on the physical, and I'm trying to find a way to work in my own emotional piece. And I do that, she suggested, with creating memories with my close circle of friends. The problem is we have all these friends on our social media, but you don't know them, they don't know you. Mm-hmm. And so what happens is in the last 6 to 8 months, I have been intentional with reaching out to just a select group of people, because I don't reach out to folk. I never have, because folk got some stuff with them, God bless them. But I've been intentional with connecting. Yes, ma'am. I've been intentional with connecting and reconnecting with people who we encourage and energize each other, because I'm not going to be in situations ever again in my life where I'm connected with somebody and they drain me. I'm not doing that. And so I'm working on the emotional piece of self-care. I'm doing the mental piece of self-care and the physical piece of self-care. Why? Because all of us are multifaceted people, and you need multifaceted levels of self-care.
Awesome. Now you ran out of time. Sorry. But we knew that was going to happen. it's going to happen on this series because we're dealing with some very highly educated folk, right? So
the time goes out the window.
The time
I
goes
will
out.
say,
We got to get the message out. We got to get this. We gonna get it. But that was awesome. I mean, it really was. And so you guys, hey, you can drop in the answers to, what do you do for self-care? You can answer the key questions as well. And what do you do when you get off course? I think both of those hand in hand go very well together, because if you're working on those things, then you are easily cued for internally when you're off, because you're tapped into you, right? On the emotional, the physical, the spiritual, that level, the mental. So it's easy to tell when you're off course if you're working on the self-care. So this has been amazing. Amazing. We're gonna ask you one more time, how can people connect to you and drop and plug in the address, the name, and everything of the church as well. Make sure they get it if they did not get it the other times. But tell us how they can connect, and then your service and your times and stuff for Sundays, and how even if they want to come worship with you, how they can do that.
Well, so let me start here. I love and appreciate both of you all greatly. Thank you so much for the invitation. I pray that God continues to grow your reach. The Connected Corner is needed in a new and a major way. And I thank God for you all taking a chance on me. It's been a joy. It's been a joy to be here with you all on tonight. To get in contact with me, of course, I'm on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Just look up Burl Whipple. I don't put my title on Facebook because I want people to understand that I am respectful and approachable. I do not have armor bearers. I do not have security. I don't do all that. I'm from West Baltimore. If you got to get slapped, you're gonna get slapped. But in the same vein, I don't hide behind my titles. So if you want to get connected on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, just look me up, Burl Whipple. But my church, I'm peacock proud of the historic Mount Hebron Baptist Church. I've been there 7 years. There's been a lot of progress there. Look us up on the web, mounthebron.org. That's MOUNTHEBRON.org. If you go to our website, you'll find all information that you need in terms of Mount Hebron social media. We worship Sundays at 11 a.m. 2651 West North Avenue, Baltimore, Maryland, 21216. But if you do come for service at 11 a.m., we ask you to come between 10:45 and 11 o'clock, because we have an environmental safety ministry who will meet you at the door and take temperature checks. And please wear your mask. We are social distancing. Services are not that long, even before the pandemic. Before the pandemic, service was about 2 hours. Now, after the pandemic or post-pandemic, services is about an hour and 15, hour and 20 minutes, because we are mindful of the atmosphere. We're mindful of what we're doing. But it's not a rushed service. So by the time you get the benediction, you know you've been in church.
Amen. Listen. Woo, I can't wait to see you standing on furniture again. Okay. That's always the best part of the
right.
What is what you gonna do, Jesus? Okay. Come on now, do it, Lord. If you're gonna do it now.
That's their workout. That's the
workout.
Run around the sanctuary. I was going to say earlier, because of how highly you speak of Dr. Zena Chase, I reached out. I was like, hey, hi, you taking new clients? She is not currently taking new clients, but I have my supermarket ticket, like you're at the lunch meat counter, I'm in line. Because I think that it is important. I don't need just one. I need one God. I need multiple therapists. Right. And so, because you got to get different perspectives. And so I am blessed to be your friend, blessed to be your sister in Christ, and just blessed to have you on the show. My name is Tori Rose. I am the connector. And if you guys want to connect to me, email me at connect2Tori@gmail.com. So it's connect2Tori@gmail.com, and give me 24 hours or so. I will get back to you. I also wanted to say this in 10 seconds. If you've gone to an HBCU and you had a great experience, but you want to go back and you want to continue your education, try a PWI. I am currently enrolled. I'm getting my master's in educational leadership at a PWI. And baby, it makes you just see the stark contrast. Let's just put it that way. And so
it reminds you how smart you are. how smart you really are.
How smart you are, and
Yeah.
how much
Mhm.
nurturing really comes from being in environments with your own people. And so, anyway, that's me. That's Tori Rose. Kiana, how can we find you and how can we stay connected to you?
You can find me on social media, Instagram, all those great places as Kiana B. Jones. And make sure you find us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube as The Connected Corner. And you want to hit the bell so you get notifications when we broadcast with great content like this, because we bring you news and resources you can actually use.
This has been real, guys. Thank you. We love Tuesdays. It's our favorite day, and we can't wait to talk to you and our next week's guest next Tuesday. Tune in Tuesdays, 8 p.m. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. It's been real.
Peace.